Hi, everyone. It's Henry DeVries with Agency Rainmaker TV. This is where we teach agency owners, advertising, digital marketing, PR agency owners, how to make it rain, how to bring in clients. And today, it's not only about bringing in the revenue, but how do we keep it? There's an old saying that what you don't spend, you get to keep. And I think we could add to it, what you don't send to the government, you get to keep. So how can we do that? We've got Craig Cody, CPA, with us today. Craig, how are you today?
Henry, I'm great. Thank you very much for having me today.
It was so great to have you here. So why don't we start off with the who question? Who do you serve? Who are your clients, Craig?
Our clients are agency owners.
Well, that's pretty simple and succinct. I like it. You have a niche even within a niche. So how do you help them? What do you do for them?
We help agency owners keep more of what they make. Okay, they're typically pretty good at making it, but they're not that good at keeping it and only paying the government's fair share.
So what are some of the ways that you advise them that they can pay the government only the fair share?
Well, it really starts with, planning, being proactive. All right. But taking a little bit of time to see what can we do a little bit differently. And most often what happens is, people are so busy running their business, doing, putting out the fires, doing the daily things, that they don't spend any time, being proactive, seeing what can we change maybe a little bit and, get a tax deduction for it, not pay taxes on that money. So that's what we do. I mean, we could get into specifics if you like.
Oh, I think that's always interesting. Maybe like the Augusta rule.
Right. So the Augusta rule is, the name is a bit of folklore. Comes out of the Augusta Golf Tournament. And legend has it that there are no hotels over there. And they wanted to persuade people to rent their homes. So somebody, lobbied, I guess, Congress. And they passed the rule, basically, if you can rent your home for up to 14 days a year and not pay tax on that income. Now, if you rent it for 15, you have to pay tax on all 15 days. But if you do it up to 14, you don't have to pay tax on that. So that's a simple way to, let's just say you rent your home for $1,000, $2,000 a day during the Augusta National. That's $28,000 in your pocket, tax-free.
That's to make a pun, a masterful way of making a little extra cash. I guess they didn't foresee Airbnb back in the days when they passed that law. So we've come quite a ways.
Correct. And typically what happens with Airbnb is most people will rent their home for more than 14 days. So it doesn't help them.
Right. So it's when I interviewed people about you, Craig, they all said the same thing, is that you're assertive in pushing these things, but you're not aggressive. You don't go over the line. You don't want to do anything that crosses a line on that. Is that a fair statement about you and your approach?
That's a very fair statement. We use the tax code. When we do planning, we actually have the tax code in the sections of the code that allow us to do what we're talking about. So when we talk about the Augusta rule, we're talking about code section 280A, okay? Now I could spout a whole bunch of numbers here and bore everyone to death, but I won't. But the code allows us to do a lot of different things. And, most people just don't take the time to, plan, speak with their CPA and figure out what can I do differently. More often than not, they speak with their CPA maybe once or twice a year. And typically it's in tax season. And at that point, he or she probably has their head down just trying to get the work done. Tax planning is a year-round process.
Yeah. I liken you to, unlike a typical accountant, CPA, who is looking through the rear view mirror of what happened, you're looking through the windshield about what's ahead and making plans and decisions for that. What could you tell us a little more about your process when you work with agencies?
Yes, so our basic process is we have a conversation with an agency owner. Typically, they are not doing anything proactive. They're not having a lot of communication with their CPA, and they're just basically leaving it to chance, all right? Putting the right numbers in the right boxes and typically overpaying in tax. So our process is we have that conversation. We analyze their tax returns, their P&L, their balance sheet, and then we look for things that they're doing that, maybe if they tweak it a little bit or document it, we can turn them into tax deductions.
Nice. Now, I think I'd be remiss if we didn't cover your background, because you certainly didn't come out of the womb planning to be a CPA, and your first career wasn't with taxes and numbers. Tell the folks a little bit about your background, please.
Yes, so my first career, I spent almost 17 years in the New York City Police Department. I left in 2020 as a lieutenant. And at that point, by day, I was pushing papers, low man on the totem pole, making copies at a CPA firm. And I'd go into work and I'd turn out anywhere from 60 to 100 cops and sergeants, by the evening. So there was a lot of dichotomy there.
So interesting. And your father was a policeman and your mom was a paralegal, is that right?
Yes, correct. My dad was a cop and a detective and a sergeant, spent over 33 years in New York City. So I kind of followed in the footsteps, and I have a son that followed in my footsteps.
Oh, there you go. That's a legacy. That's a New York City legacy right there.
My wife says it's in the blood.
It's in the blood. Well, let's shift it a little. Of course, your wife's probably not as worried as she used to be about you coming home at night. I think most CPAs make it back safely at night.
A lot of paper cuts.
A lot of paper cuts, yeah. So the struggle is real. But let's go. How do you make it rain? How do you find clients?
Oh, how do we find clients? We're pretty proactive in our marketing strategies. I mean, we have a podcast that's out there. We do a lot of online webinars, Q&As, social media. We actually just had a research study that was done. We'll be launching that in the next day or two on our website. It was done of agency owners. It was very interesting to get the results of that. That'll be up on our website.
Well, to keep the theme, there's a lot of the usual suspects were involved in what you just said. Probably Susan Beyer at Audience Audit helped you with that research study, and probably Drew McClellan's Agency Management Institute. And I know I've seen you at the Build a Better Agency Summit and also hanging out with the predictive ROI people. So when I go to the workshops for AMI and predictive ROI, your name comes up a lot. There's always some question somebody will have, and it's the flow chart always ends with call Craig Cody, talk to Craig Cody. He's the person to help you with that. So bravo, Craig. You do the right things because you're generously helpful. You're relentlessly helpful. In fact, I have found to the community, and we certainly appreciate that. Any parting words of advice for agency owners?
I think, be proactive, talk with your CPA, ask them, how can we reduce legally the tax liability? Hopefully you won't get a glazed over look in the eye. And there are plenty of CPAs out there that can help you with tax planning, not just us, all right? But you should be working with somebody that wants to be proactive, that wants to do more than just put the right numbers in the right box. We all have to put the right numbers in the right boxes.
Greg, there was a mental health facility in California, and their television advertisement always ended, if you don't get help from us, please get help from somebody. So
That's very true. That's very true.
Yeah, taxes too. Okay, thank you so much. This has been another episode of Agency Rainmaker TV. And until we meet again, make it rain.